The wailing echoed through the marble halls like a siren ripping apart the stillness of night. In the grand kitchen lined with white stone, orange juice pooled with milk, breadcrumbs scattered across the floor, and child-sized teardrops glistened under the chandelier's cold light. Beneath that dazzling crystal glow, two 6-year-old boys, James and Jamie, thrashed and screamed like twin storms no one could tame. No one remembered how many days it had been since a meal passed without chaos. Since their young mother collapsed in the bathroom from a sudden stroke, the mansion had gone silent. No singing, no piano, no warmth tucked into corners like it used to be. Just shouting, just rage without a name, and exhaustion, thick as fog. 3 nannies had already walked out. The first quit in week 1, said the boys looked at her like demons. The second cried after James flung an apple at her face at midnight. The third didn't even make it to sunrise. She screamed, "I'm a nanny, not a firefighter," and stormed out without a glance back. Now, there was a new one, a black woman no one cared to notice. Hunched shoulders, hair wrapped neatly in a plain cotton scarf. Her name was Martha. No glowing resume, no letters of reference from glossy families. Just another name pulled from the agency's standby list. When she arrived, Claudette, the sharp-faced housekeeper barely past 30, looked her up and down and scoffed. "Let's see if this stinking black one can last a day." Martha heard it, said nothing. As she stepped into the kitchen, a plastic spoon flew and struck her ankle. Jamie's face was twisted. "Go away," he screamed. "You're not my mom," James added, voice cracking. "Get out." The kitchen fell still. Staff peered from behind doors, watching, waiting. 2 outcomes were likely, anger or tears. Just like the others, Martha did neither. She bent down, picked up the spoon, wiped it clean with the cloth in her pocket, and smiled. A soft, almost weightless smile that made both boys pause. "Wait a second. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps us." "You don't have to eat," she said gently, her voice like frost brushing over a quiet lake. "But how about helping me make a cake?" James frowned. Jamie pouted. They turned away, screaming anew, fists pounding the counter. Martha didn't flinch. She simply opened the cupboards. Eggs, flour, vanilla, unsalted butter, a small jar of honey tucked behind the ketchup like she'd known it was there all along. She set the bowl on the counter, cracked eggs, sifted flour, poured milk, all while the room thundered with chaos like she was baking in a world where none of it touched her. The storm kept raging, but eventually, like tired cats after a fit of claws, the boys began to watch. Jamie crept closer, eyes locked on the bowl. James followed, quiet, staring at the spoon stirring the butter. "Honey cake," Martha said, as if to the air. "Your favorite, James." Neither moved. Then Jamie slowly dipped a hand into the dough. James hesitated, then joined. Their small fingers played with flour the way kids play with sand, shaping, squishing, tossing. Martha let them. Now and then, she showed them how to crack an egg. Sprinkle vanilla, smear butter. Soon, the table was a mess. Butter on elbows, dough on the floor, but no more screams. No crashing, just soft splats of batter, little hands bumping into each other. And quiet giggles, small and warm, like sprouts breaking soil after a long, hard winter. Then, a whisper, barely a breath. "I miss baking with Mommy," James murmured. Martha's hands paused mid-stir. Something flickered in her eyes, here and gone in a second. She said nothing for a moment. Then, softly, "I think she misses you too." The front door clicked open. Julius Weatherby stepped inside. White shirt wrinkled, sleeves rolled, tie undone. He was tall, handsome in the way grief carves deep lines into the quiet ones. Meetings, stocks, legal lows, a blur of boardrooms couldn't exhaust him like this one question. How to get his children to eat without screaming. But what he saw from the kitchen threshold stopped him cold. No crying, no mess, no flying forks or shattered bowls. Just his sons, laughing, covered in flour. Their laughter drifted up like sunlight through storm-clouded windows. A sound he thought had left this house the day his wife did. Julius stood frozen on the stairs. His heart clenched, then stretched, trembling, fragile. He had never seen this with any nanny before. And the woman in the worn cardigan, sitting between his sons, wiping their sticky hands with a faded cloth, and smiling like the world hadn't ended. She had brought life back into his house. Since that first quiet afternoon, it was as if Martha had cracked open a door no one knew still existed inside the boys. And perhaps without realizing it, she had nudged open another hidden deep inside Dillis Weatherby, a tech billionaire once nicknamed the Steel Man, wrapped in silk. Julius had grown used to silence and control. Yet now, something was shifting. At first it was curiosity. Why weren't the boys throwing their bowls anymore? Why did breakfast pass without spilled milk? Why did they come to the table on their own? And why, last night, had they slept through until morning, not once calling out for the mother who no longer answered? That curiosity soon turned to attention. Martha didn't talk much. She didn't lecture or flatter me. She just noted. She knew James had a mild cinnamon allergy that made his skin flare. She knew Jamie cried silently when the lights went out too soon, and that he only fell asleep if someone gently patted his back in rhythm, like a heartbeat. She even remembered the gray wool blanket with the stitched train, how it was the last thing their mother tucked around them during that final cold night. And somehow knew Jamie still missed it, though he never said a word. One Saturday morning, Julius stepped into the kitchen and froze. That smell! Creamy mushroom soup, rosemary, and lemon zests folded in just right. His wife's anniversary recipe, the only one he ever learned to make. He hadn't touched it since the funeral. You, know how to make this? He asked, leaning quietly against a wooden chair. His voice tangled in disbelief. Martha didn't turn. She stirred gently and said, "This scent makes autumn mornings easier to breathe, doesn't it?" He said nothing. Even the coffee, his signature blend, she made just right. 1/3 oat milk, 2/3 Arabica espresso. No sugar, no cream, with a single ice cube. So perfect he nearly believed he'd brewed it himself. The precision unnerved him. How could a stranger know so much? But not everyone in the house welcomed Martha's presence. Claudette, the longtime housekeeper, white, polished, once personal assistant to Julius's late wife and now self-appointed guardian of the estate, watched with tight smiles and colder eyes. Her clothes were impeccable. Her posture is flawless. But beneath every gesture was calculation. She played polite. Everyone knew she made the rules, and she made it clear. Martha didn't belong. That black woman's just pretending to be humble to win favors, she whispered to gardeners, maids, kitchen staff. They nodded politely, but after that, many stepped aside when Martha passed. "You think a few cookies get you a seat at this table?" Claudette hissed in the linen closet one afternoon. "The role of lady in this house isn't for dirty blacks like you. Know your place, or you'll be tossed out like trash." Martha said nothing. She kept folding tablecloths, each crease precise. Then Claudette began planting traps. A diamond ring, once part of the late Mrs. Weatherby's collection, slipped into Martha's coat pocket. Then a gilded spoon, a nearly empty Irma's perfume bottle. Each item, need, found by someone else. But Julius never flinched. She's doing her job. Don't start fires where there are none. Claudette smiled through clenched teeth. But the fire in her eyes grew. Others began whispering. "She's got a plan," muttered the sous-chef on break. "No one endures that kind of humiliation for nothing." "She's holding out for the big payday," nodded the old gatekeeper. "Snag a billionaire and you're set for life." But they didn't see, perhaps didn't want to see, that Martha asked for nothing. No raise, no favors, nothing but the children's well-being. Still, some truths leak through even the strongest facades. One morning, after a spilled ink stain ruined the banquet setup, Claudette snapped. She yanked Martha by the hair in front of the staff and spat. "You've ruined the whole event, you useless leech." Martha's scarf shifted. A line of artificial hair showed beneath the edge. She rushed to fix it. Claudette squinted. Another time, as she and the twins painted in the playroom, Jamie suddenly squealed, "Hey, you've got the same mole on your elbow. Just like Mommy." James blinked. "Yeah, that little round one. On your left arm." Martha quickly tugged down her sleeve. "Just coincidence," she said stiffly. The door between them slamming shut with those two words. The boys exchanged glances. Martha packed up the crayons in silence, her back to them. But Julius had started to notice. Somewhere beneath the warmth, behind the silence, a quiet question had taken root. Who was Martha, really? In the days that followed, the mansion seemed to bask in its own kind of sunlight. The twins no longer threw tantrums or launched food at the walls. Mornings now began with two boys sitting neatly at the table, waiting for milk to be poured, waiting for Martha to tie their laces, waiting for a kiss on the forehead before the car ride to school. Julius, though never a man of grand emotions, noticed something strange. He smiled more. He found himself lingering by doors, watching Martha greet the boys at the gate. Some evenings he just happened to pass by the kitchen at 6, right when she was cooking something that smelled achingly like Eliza's old dinner recipes. She never asked much, but she always knew. And somehow, all three, father and sons, began to breathe a little easier. A peace returned, quiet and tentative, like breath on an autumn morning, one they thought had been buried with Eliza Weatherby 6 months ago. One evening Julius even actually laughed, when Jamie climbed into the pantry hunting for Martha's hidden honey jar while James chased her around with a pastry brush, yelling, "I'm your assistant as if now. They're just like Eliza used to be," he thought. Later that same night, as apple and cinnamon filled the kitchen air, he sat beside Martha. "You're good at this," he said, eyes following the boys' giggles drifting in from the patio. "I've never seen anyone understand them like you do." Martha lowered her gaze. "Because I was a mother once." Julius stilled, but she was already wiping her hands, her face unreadable, still as water before a storm. Across the house, Claudette simmered. She had noticed the way Julius lingered by the kitchen, the smiles, the softening, each glance, each pause, like tiny knives carving away at her pride. "I won't let that black woman take everything," she seethed. That night, when the house had gone quiet, Claudette crept into the kitchen. She slipped a dose of heavy sedatives into Martha's untouched dinner, left for her habit of eating late, enough to render an adult unconscious for hours. The plan was precise. By morning Martha would collapse, fall from the stairs, or better yet, an accidental truck would swerve into the private driveway. Cruelty disguised as coincidence. But she hadn't counted on one thing. Martha knew the smell of medication. She had once taken pills every night. Her senses were sharp. Just a few bites in, and something was wrong. Her head grew light, her limbs weak, her heart pounded too slow. She dropped her spoon. From the hallway shadows, Claudette emerged. "Done eating?" she smirked. "Was it tasty?" Martha turned, eyes blurring. "What did you put in it?" "Just something to help you sleep," Claudette purred, stepping closer. "Sleep deep, and never wake up in this house again. I'm tired of seeing your face." "You're insane." Martha clutched the table for balance. "No, I'm wide awake." Her voice dropped to a hiss. "I know exactly what you are. A black woman playing saint, thinking she belongs here. You think you can just become someone? You think this house is yours." Martha stumbled out of the kitchen. Claudette followed, eyes gleaming. "He'll never choose you. That place is mine. I was here before you. I raised those kids. I earned this. Not you." "No one earns anything through cruelty," Martha whispered, climbing the stairs. But the drug hit harder now. Her steps faltered. The hallway spun. At the top step, Claudette struck. "Get out of my house." A shove. Martha's heel slipped on the polished wood. Her body tilted, struck the railing. Then, thud. She crashed down the staircase, limp, her head hitting the final step with a sickening crack. Blood pooled beneath her curls, and as she lay motionless in the entryway, something else broke. The makeup that had concealed her for months peeled, torn, and beneath the soft light of the chandelier, half her face showed pale, a beauty mark under her left eye. The unmistakable birthmark of Eliza Weatherby. The front door creaked open. Julius stepped in, tired from a late meeting, hoping to kiss the boys goodnight. But the scene stopped him cold. His briefcase hit the floor. He didn't move, couldn't speak. Then he saw her face. His knees buckled. "Oh my God," he whispered, rushing to her side. Is it you?" At the hospital, the truth struck like lightning. The fingerprints matched. Eliza Weatherby, once declared legally dead after a boating accident, was alive, broken, bleeding, but breathing. When she finally opened her eyes, they met his. Tears rushed down her cheeks. "I'm sorry," she choked, like a child. "Why, Eliza? Why would you do this?" Julius clutched her hand, voice shaking. And so she told him, piece by piece, like unraveling thread. After giving birth, the shadows came. Depression swallowed her. No one noticed. No one understood. I wasn't the singer anymore, not the glamorous wife. I was just a tired, angry mother who thought maybe the boys would be better off without me. Then came the accident, the fall, the idea. If they remembered me as a good mom, not a failure, she wept. I just disappeared. Julius sat frozen, tears falling before he realized. I watched them cry, refused to eat. I stood outside this house one night, and I came back, she said, voice cracking. I disguised myself, took the job, just to be near them, near you. I wasn't brave enough to be their mother, but I could be their nanny. I could love them, quiet. Julius squeezed her hand, voice hoarse. You never lost the right to be their mother. Weakness doesn't erase love. You came back. That's all that matters. Eliza sobbed in his arms, and for the first time in 6 months, she let herself be held. Not as Martha, not as the help, but as the woman who had always belonged in that home, even when she didn't believe it herself. The next morning, the private hospital was surrounded by reporters, cameras flashing beyond the gates. But none got past the perimeter. Julius had the entire property sealed off. What he needed wasn't a statement for the press. He needed peace for her. The police had arrived the night before, right after Julius made the call. Eliza's statement, now no longer Martha, but herself again, was just the beginning. The hidden stairway cameras, small, discreet, placed at corners throughout the mansion, had been tampered with in places. But the cloud backups, untouched. The footage was clear. Claudette entering the kitchen, adding something to the food, watching Martha wobble, then pressing both hands into her back, sending her down the stairs. No shadows, no doubt. Claudette was arrested in the staff office. She screamed like an animal, eyes wild. She's not a nanny, she's a lunatic. A lunatic in disguise. Julius watched in silence as they dragged her away. Inside, something heavy inside him finally came undone. 3 days later, Eliza was discharged. The twins ran to her, sobbing. They didn't call her Martha anymore. They screamed, "Mommy," like their hearts had never forgotten. Just paused, hidden beneath confusion and grief. Jamie clung to her neck until he couldn't breathe. James pressed his face into her shoulder, shaking like a drum off rhythm. Eliza wept too, but not with shame, not with fear. She wept because they forgave her, because their eyes, those eyes she once ran from, held only love. Julius stood nearby, hands in his pockets, eyes red-rimmed. He stepped forward, touching her shoulder gently. I should have known sooner. She looked up. Bandages still wrapped her forehead. Bruises colored her skin. But her eyes, those eyes were the same. The same ones he saw the night the twins were born, when she cradled them and cried through a smile. He brushed her cheek, voice low. But now, can we begin again? She nodded. And this time, she let herself lean on him fully. No disguises, no masks, no hiding behind another skin. They began therapy together. Julius, who once believed logic solved everything, sat through weekly sessions. Eliza started counseling for postpartum trauma. The boys, too, received gentle care to rebuild what had frayed. Breakfasts were no longer battlegrounds. No more spilled milk. No more broken plates. Just the sound of toothbrushes in the bathroom, soft morning chatter about toy cars, light jazz humming from the kitchen radio. The house had a heartbeat again. 1 month later, golden sunlight spilled across the backyard like honey. The scent of vanilla and warm butter floated through the kitchen. Inside what once was a war zone, a quiet ritual unfolded. Eliza wore a simple apron, her hair tied up, no makeup, but her smile glowed brighter than anything Chanel ever made. She stirred batter with James beside her. Jamie manned the timer and poked the butter with a spoon, nodding with purpose. Near the doorway, Julius held a hand mixer like a man gripping a live wire. The billionaire who once navigated billion-dollar mergers now blinked in terror as his wife said, "Don't tower beat it," he muttered. "How can I run a company but not beat an egg without trembling?" Eliza giggled, reaching up to fix his collar. A good cake needs love in the mixing, not market shares. Jamie burst into laughter. James rolled his eyes at his dad. "You're so lame, Dad." The kitchen rang with laughter. Not polite, not cautious. Real, whole, like vanilla in the air. It warmed every crack. There were no imposters now. No masks, no lies, only a mother, fully seen. A father, finally softening, and 2 little boys who understood better than most. Love doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be true. Messenger. Sometimes, love doesn't need a name, just nearness. Quiet care. A silent shield against the world. Eliza chose to love her family not with titles, but with presence, with the quiet bravery of a mother once lost. This story isn't just about family. It's about forgiveness, second chances, and the fragile belief that even the deepest cracks in a home can mend if the love is real. And sometimes, it's the very hands that once caused the pain that hold the power to heal it.